And welcome back to Sitting in a Car. I'm Sarah Sproul and I sit in a car with you every week answering a question to help you raise your confident and caring young person to respect themselves and the people around them. And the question for this week is, my 9-year-old son is very self-conscious every morning with an erection. How to discuss this with him? So this question, while it is about penises and erections, actually has wide-ranging learnings that we can all take. And it's to do with how do we help our child avoid growing up with shame about their body. Now, you might not know this, but if we feel shame about our body, and this happens for adults as well, then we are less able to feel confident with our body. And when we feel less confident, we're less able to speak up for what we need to keep us safe or what will make us feel happy or any of those things in our future intimate lives. So this question about feeling embarrassed about erections is really about shame. So what are the 3 things that will help this mum out with the problem she has at home? The first thing is that we need to give our child, in this case her son, permission to have a body that is doing those things. So oftentimes that can come from a conversation. Like I remember way back when I had my first vaginal delivery, it was after a cesarean section, and I had the worst urinary incontinence ever. Well, it felt like it at the time. It probably wasn't actually the worst, but no one had to talk to me about urinary incontinence after vaginal delivery, and I didn't see anyone else talking about it, and I felt really alone, and that made me feel sort of sad and shut down. And so when it comes to erections, that same principle applies. If no one has talked about erections in your house before, then he may feel completely on his own and maybe like his body is broken. So the conversation can go something like this. Do you know what I learned the other day? That young people that have penises, even as young as 1 or 2, can have what's called an erection. And I don't know if you know about this, but that's when the penis gets hard and points straight up. It could be just like that. You don't need to ask him to tell you about his erection or say, does he have erections? You just mention that people have erections if they have a penis. A lot of people have erections. And you might even say that they maybe can start really young, or maybe they're very common in the mornings, or you might say when people start getting to puberty, maybe they have more erections and they have them in places like when they're just in the swimming pool or on the sports field. And sometimes it can take people by surprise, you know, if their body's doing something that they don't want it to do. And so that gives, first of all, permission to talk about penises, permission to talk about erections, and it shows your child that you can talk about them too. The second point to make is that this is a normal thing that bodies do, and we can even comment on the fact that people don't talk about them. So we might say something like, you know, penises getting hard and pointy is a really normal part of having a penis, and it's weird actually that people don't talk about that very much. And we haven't talked about it very much in our house. So we're acknowledging that it's a normal thing that happens, and we are also acknowledging that people don't talk about it very much, even though it is a normal thing. And finally, maybe in the same conversation or in a completely different conversation, you can take responsibility for the fact that perhaps conversations about erections haven't happened in your house. You may even sort of work out a reason why they haven't happened. Maybe it's because that you've never heard someone talk about an erection before with a child, so you don't know how that works. Maybe you don't have a penis yourself, and so you feel slightly embarrassed talking about them. Maybe there's no one in your family apart from your 9-year-old who has a penis, and therefore it doesn't feel natural to talk about them. Any of those reasons can be sort of relevant to tell your kids. So that part of the conversation can go something like this. Do you know what I've realized is that adults have a responsibility to give kids the information that they need about their body so they can make good decisions and feel good about themselves in the future. And what I realized is because I've never had a penis, or no one's ever talked to me about penises before, that I didn't realize that conversations about erections are a really useful thing to do for people growing up. So sorry about that. That was something I didn't know, and it means that I probably didn't give you what you needed, and I'm sorry about that. I'm going to do better. So let's recap. When our child is embarrassed about anything to do with their body, what are the 3 things that we can do, or the conversations we can have that are going to help them move through this embarrassment? The first thing is we give them permission to have that thing on their body, whether it's an erect penis or one boob bigger than the other or whatever it's going to be, urinary incontinence, in my case, in my 30s. We can give our child permission to have that experience. The second thing we can do is normalize it and say it's perfectly normal to feel embarrassed or to have a penis that points up or to have urinary incontinence after a vaginal delivery, right? So we're saying that's normal. You're not broken. It's okay. And then the third thing we can say is show our child that we take responsibility maybe for their embarrassment. Say, you know what? And talk to them about the fact that we haven't talked about this before. And as I always say, you know what? If you're finding this part of your parenting difficult, it's not your fault. You haven't been shown how to do these things. You may not have accurate information, and nobody might have talked to you about this sort of thing when you were a child. So there you go. And that's sitting in a car for another week, where I've answered a question to help you raise your confident and caring young person who respects themselves and the people around them. And while I have you here, can I ask for your help? Would you like or repost Sitting in a Car? This helps other parents just like you find the support and information they need to do this part of their parenting even better. Bye for now.